So, welcome to the hiring room. I have a very special guest today. Her name's Heather Winandy, and she's super admin turned super coach these days. We'll talk a little bit about that and how she came to that. But Heather and I, in the hiring room fashion, a lot of people that I bring on the program, I've known them for a long time because of what I do. So, Heather, I'm thinking back. What year did we meet?
2013.
I thought it was farther than that, but you would
No,
know because you left the company
that was
then.
the year we might have met in crossing paths during, like, hiring in that company, but when that company was getting bought out, they farmed out hiring teams
Yeah,
for us, and you were
yeah,
one of them.
yeah, yeah, and I remember coming to the office, but I remember more you coming by us. This is what I remember. I remember you coming by us, and one of the guys that worked for me, Jason Flores, really liked you a lot, and I think that he must have introduced me to you because at that time
Yeah.
that was Marco at the time, right?
Yep.
I was the partner at Marco, and we got chatting. Did you do a project for us or anything like that?
I can't remember if we did a project, but I remember interviewing with you to work at your firm.
That's what it was. Yes, probably Jason was
So, like, we had met and we had reviewed my resume, and because I was in a layoff situation, he was
yeah,
like, "Interview here." And so I did, and part of the deal was I had to come downtown, which I was, like, not really a big fan of
yeah.
that, and now I'm down there all the time, but back
Are
then I
you?
was like, I don't know that I wanna do that." But then also, I wanted to stay in the salary bracket that I had achieved, and I got to the point where I actually took a lower salary at the next job that I went to, so I probably should have gone with you.
No, the partner that I was a partner with, he was always, I don't know if he was good at it, but he always had to try to negotiate people down. I was the softer one, but anyway, so I don't even
Yeah.
remember, but
I
we were
remember you
probably
going,
wanted to
"I
hire an
would
ad.
love to pay you that. I would love to." And I was like, "Can't you make it happen?"
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? See, I was the one that was probably like, "We should probably just pay her more," and he's probably like, "No, whatever."
Yeah.
It was probably it probably was for an admin role for our company, like my office manager or something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like I do miss those days being downtown. Well, I don't miss the commute, but gosh, my life was so different. And I was on a just I was a constantly on like a hamster wheel when I ran those companies down there. And my life is so much different now. And so things just kind of happened when you had all those people together,
Yeah.
which
Well, and it was a good thing that I took the job that I did because
where
I
did you
ended up
go?
going I went to RSM. At the time, it
That's
was
right.
McGladdery,
This,
and
yeah,
so
okay.
I actually I didn't want the job, and
Why didn't you want the job?
the attorney, because it was a bigger firm, and it was going from an accounting group to another accounting group, and I was like, "Ugh, it's so boring."
What
And
do
she was like,
you mean?
so
You're
the
gonna
attorney
replace
one of
us
the attorneys that I
accountants.
worked with at the firm that closed down, she was like, "Trust me, this is the place that you wanna go." She's like, "You'll get growth, you'll get recognition, you'll soar, trust me." And I was like, "Alright." And I was
I
there
mean,
for 11
they've got a
years.
they have a good reputation. They were
They did.
established
Yeah.
RSM,
Yeah, I
right?
really that was one of
And
the yeah.
stable, you
It was
know?
it was very good for my career development, it was very good for my emotional development. I learned a lot there.
Yeah, and you were there for, like, what, 10 years? And you ended up becoming a project manager there, correct?
Yeah,
So
because
tell me
they had said, "We're not gonna hire we're not gonna hire admins anymore, we're gonna hire project managers," and I was like, "What? Why?" They're like, "Well, it's just the way it's going." I'm like, "But why?" And they couldn't answer
I
it.
mean, if you think about it, a really great admin is a project manager.
Well, that's what we found out. I was like, "I've been doing this stuff for years."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think I could ever do that job. I think if I had to be an admin or a project manager as a living, I probably would be fired. Like, I don't think I could do a very good job with it.
See,
I'd probably be cleaning toilets.
I realized because I was like I could jump from task to task, like ADHD central.
Well, I do have
That was
ADHD, but
why I was good at it. Like,
well,
because
I
I
have
had
that.
yeah, because I could be interrupted and go back to where I was, or if I was bored with this, I could move to that.
Yeah.
I realized, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago, that was why I was good at what I did.
Hmm. You know what? I was the fireman at my firm too, though, if I think about it. I
Mhm.
was the fireman, but I didn't necessarily enjoy it. It's stressful,
It is stressful, but I've
you know?
found now doing my own thing, running my own
Mhm.
business,
Yeah.
I was for 30 years, I was the firefighter. And
Yeah.
fortunately for me, I grew up in a household where my dad was a firefighter, so I was well trained.
You put out
But
the heavy
now
equipment?
yeah, now I'm like, I don't have that emergent deadline where they're like, "I need it yesterday." I don't have that,
Yeah.
and so I have
Yeah.
to create it for myself.
You have to create that sense of urgency. I don't think you need a lot of motivation. You're, like, very
Yeah,
on target, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Alright, so 10 years at RSM, learned all these great skills, and what happened after RSM?
I got an offer to start working with a startup, actually. They had been around for about 5 years,
Who was
and
it?
so that was Storybolt. They've since closed.
So, okay, alright. You went to Storybolt after that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So she and I had met a couple years ago from a vendor purchasing standpoint. Someone had introduced me to them.
Yeah.
And even at the time I was like, I don't want to meet another vendor. Like I have so many people that I've met. And they were like,
Yeah.
trust me, this is a really good resource. So we
Yeah.
met them and I thought it was a great program. And we brought them into RSM and they did a couple programs. And so
Okay.
had been having lunch with her. I found her very interesting. And I was like, can we be friends? I remember we were out to breakfast. I was like, "I just want to be friends with you. You're so great." And she was like, "Absolutely."
It's
So we
funny.
started having breakfasts and lunches and we would get to know each other a lot better. And over time, she was like, "I really want you to be working with me."
Wow. And that's how that happened. But then it ended up not I remember the story a little bit. It ended up not
Yeah.
working out. You really wanted to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
whole
that's kind of
DEI
a bummer.
switch last year really had a huge impact on them because the premise of the business was viewing a documentary film around diversity of some
Yeah.
kind, whether it be,
So the
you know,
DEI
yeah,
switch
total
really hurt, huh?
100 totally DEI. And so
Wow.
there just was a lot of pullback from it, and she was like, "I'm not gonna fight," because what clients were starting to ask her then was to change her programming to match the new directives of what was permitted under DEI programming, and she was like, "I'm not gonna change my business for it."
Sometimes you have to change to survive, right?
Right, right.
But she decided that she was gonna shut it down.
Yeah, she was like, "I don't wanna compromise why I built
And you
it."
weren't and you had you considered buying it or no?
I did actually, yeah, I really looked into it. I was talking to attorneys, I was talking to banks, everything. It got to the point where I knew how to produce the material, and everything at that point, all the contracts had expired anyhow. So I was like, "If I'm gonna read new contracts anyhow, I can just do it on my own." But it's not something that I pursued much beyond that. I did have some clients contact me afterwards and say, "We would still like this programming." In fact, there's still one kind of hovering out there for January.
Could you
It
do
might
it? Could you
Yeah, I could do it because I support it so deeply. That was like one of the reasons why even started my business is because I kind of found myself in DEI programming and learning about neurodiversity and working from home and learning about the abilities program through RSM. I started
Mhm.
working with Disability In quite a bit. And I found a place for myself where I really felt comfortable and I found me. And
Yeah.
so because of that, if somebody and even the owner of Storybolt, she was like, if I have someone come to me, I'm gonna send them to you if they still want to do this. I was like, absolutely. I know the process. I can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, maybe you can, maybe that can be who knows where that could
It
go. I
could
mean,
be
you love doing
supplementary
it.
down the line, but I really
Yeah.
I enjoyed the programming because it was a story of some kind, some challenge that was a documentary level film. And they were
Okay.
short, they're about 15 to 30 minutes roughly, and it would create curiosity, and then when the film was over, we would bring someone from the film in. So either the storyteller, the filmmaker, the producer, somebody in some case that could speak to the content. And then we built conversation around it, and it was, like, typically a 1.5 hour program on Zooms.
Was it for learning and development? I mean, how did RSM use it?
We
Or is it
used it
was it
in diversity and inclusion. So we used it in abilities, and we did one film on, Down syndrome, and it
Mm,
was a fireman in Peoria, Illinois, that had created a program going around Illinois and now nationally and even internationally now, where
wow.
he shares what the experience of his daughter has Down syndrome. And so
Okay.
from the perspective of an emergency situation, they're not on your schedule. And so he educates emergency services on how to work with people who don't follow emergency protocol and how to
Okay.
support them so that they
Got
move
it.
through the process. And so that was the first one. And then the second one was on neurodiversity on autism.
Okay. Okay. So now How so I think about your background. So this is my recruiter and me, I can't help it. So admin, project manager, which is project management, almost like super admin,
It is,
and
yeah.
then storybolt, producing films. How did
Yeah.
you get to coaching?
Okay,
Like, how did
so
you end up doing this? And I know you work your butt off. You're out there hustling. I see it, you know. Tell me how you ended up there and how's it going?
it's going well. I'm getting because I didn't go when I left corporate office last year, it was September, end of September, and I went to work with Storybolt directly after that. And it was more like a part-time,
Yeah.
occasional, because part of the deal was if you come here, I'll let you build your business however you want to build it. And she's like, I just need the office support. And I'm like, I can do that. Because I've run events for years and I knew the programming from bringing it into RSM. Now I was on
Yeah.
the other end of it, hosting
So
it.
it was kind of the perfect storm for you.
Yeah, it was great. So it gave me that opportunity to build and kind of set my base and so coaching started um, earlier in my career probably, but it was super randomly. It was like if I had taken a job somewhere and I was a receptionist and I had learned new skills and I had approached the company and said, "I want to learn more." And they said, "No, we hired you to be a receptionist. We need you to be a receptionist." I'm like, "But I learned how to do that. I want to do something else." And they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, we kind of just need you here." And so then I would change jobs. Like I gave you a
Yeah.
chance. Now I'm going to change
Yeah.
jobs. And so my
Yeah.
friends and family knew that I changed whenever it was necessary for me. So back in my day, it was called job hopping. And in current day, it's respectable. Now they're like, don't settle. And if someone else will give you a better pay or a better title, then
Things
take
have
it.
changed.
Yeah.
Things have
And
changed.
so
Yeah.
it was even when I went to RSM, it was a negative. One of the partners said to me when I was interviewing, "It looks like you change jobs like every 2 to 4 years. Why should we hire you? What makes me think you'll stay here?" And I go, "Well, give me a reason to stay and I'll show you why it was valuable." And they hired me. And I even got my negotiated
I like
salary.
that sassy comment. That's a
Yeah,
good
it
one.
was a good one because that was the thing. Nobody would give me a reason to stay. The reason that I wanted to stay was to upskill, to teach someone else what I did, and
Of
I'll learn
course.
something
You want to
new.
grow.
And right. And so that was never it was never really there wasn't career programming, career development, career planning in support roles. It was like if you had a license, if you were a CPA, if you were an attorney, then you had these 2-year trajectories. But as an admin, they wanted you in that one desk.
Yeah. And
So not
if you're a really good admin, they don't want you to leave.
yeah. And
They're hard to
so
hire. It's hard to hire a good
yeah,
admin.
right. And not everybody wants to change jobs. Like it was a big strong thing for me, but comparing to my sister's like, I don't want to. I'm good. Just let me do my thing and go home." And I
Yeah.
was like, more, 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 better, faster, stronger. And so my friends and family would when they would be in a situation where they would want to change jobs or they needed a resume or they had an interview or they had to do their annual review, they started coming to me. They're like, "We know
Mm.
that you know this stuff because you keep changing jobs or you get an interview
You
or"
know this by experience.
right. And so I started writing resumes for people, and my mom was like,
Okay.
"You need to start charging people for this stuff." So I did. And just over the years, randomly, people would be sent to me, "Go talk to my sister, go talk to my daughter." And a few years ago, I started building from learning a DEI stuff at RSM. I was like, we should really build a program for office services that wants to level up. And kudos to RSM, they built a program called S2O, it was like Success Operations 2.0 is what it came down to. So it was like you were learning the management training and it was for operations and I was in the first cohort and it was awesome. And I was like,
Wow.
I wish I learned this stuff 20 years ago. And I was like, this should be given to every employee that walks through your door. And so
What did you
from there
learn?
is
What
when
was so great about that? What'd you learn?
you learned how to advocate for yourself and that it was okay to ask for promotions and that like I always felt like I was the odd man out. People are like, "Why are you doing that?" Like, shh, quiet. Go sit back at
Don't
your desk.
don't rock the boat. Don't
Right,
ripple anything up. And you're
right,
like, you're the
right.
girl in front burning the bra.
I
Like,
was
let's
always like waving my arms like,
go.
"Please," jumping up and down. And they're like, "We
You
just want
can't
you to
keep
run the
me
events."
down. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was still doing the things randomly under not under the table, but not charging people, just like on the
Mhm.
side, coaching people. And more often, my friends have been coming to me saying, "Do you coach kids?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I started working with a couple high school kids, helping
Yeah.
them with their papers, helping them get ready for college. talking them through how to get a
That's a big
job.
business helping them get ready for college. That's a really big business. Parents will
Yeah,
pay you.
so, like, how to go to the disability office and ask for support,
Yeah.
how to talk to
Yeah.
your teachers about needing extra time,
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
going going from that structured setup in high school, especially with kids that have ADHD, they're on these IEPs and then they go to college and they don't necessarily take it with them.
Yep.
And so I started doing more of that, and I spent a year. Really, where the change was is I spent a year with a family member that was really struggling. Had 10 years where she had been in a car accident and she couldn't work anymore and she couldn't ride horses anymore and she was highly depressed
No.
and stopped working and stopped driving and all of this, and I was like, "This is and 10 years is enough, I can't watch this anymore."
Right.
And so I sat down with her every Monday for a year, and we went over her goals and her dreams, and I had been talking to my family about it, like, "Here's what we went over, here's the hurdles that she's overcoming, here's where her mental state is, and these are things that we need to work through and help it." You're not gonna just throw her to the wolves, you have to guide her through it, and so I spent a good amount of time with her, and my aunt was like, "You should really do this for a living." And that's where it started.
So that's kind of the roots of it. So it's sort of like matured over time. Now, tell me a little bit about, I see some on LinkedIn that you're doing some things with, you're really, your niche is coaching admins though, correct? People like
Yeah,
yourself 20 years ago.
exactly.
And so
It took
that
me a while to figure out who my
audience
ideal
was?
client was, my audience of
Yeah.
people that heard what the words that came out of my mouth went, "That's me." And it took me a while to go, "Oh, it was me the whole
Yeah.
time."
Yeah. What is the most difficult thing about starting a business like this for you? Like
My
what have been some of your moments?
the hardest thing that I overcame was who am I talking to directly, because I spent about 2 years trying to figure that out because I was like, "Everybody, anybody, whoever needs help."
It's
'Cause
wild how long that takes to
yeah,
figure out
that's
sometimes,
just
doesn't it?
innate in me where someone's like, "I need help with whatever." Okay, I'll figure out how to do it. I might not know how to do it, but I might know somebody that does, and I'll refer you to them. My nephew's so funny. He's like, when people say, "I know a guy that can help you with blah, blah, blah," I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're the guy."
That's what people say about me. I think we're kindred spirits. I had my friend Rub on. She goes, when I need to hire somebody and I can't figure it out, I call Renee. When I need an attorney, I call Renee. When
Uh-huh.
I need a 401k, and she's like, I kind of call her for a lot of things. It was so funny. I was like, I guess. Well, because when you get networked pretty well, or in
Yeah,
my case, I built a couple businesses, right? So
right.
it's, you do end up, you walk, as I say, I haven't walked a mile. I've walked like 1,000 miles, and I
Mm,
haven't been around the block. I've been around the block like 1,000 times. And so, yeah, so your Rolodex gets pretty fat. And then your life experience. I mean, there's a reason people get older and they're wiser. Well, they should get
yeah,
wiser as they age. Some people don't. Some people don't grow at
yeah.
all, right? But you should grow. But that's funny. So you're the guy. So what were we talking about? So it took you a
So
while to
the other
figure out, right?
hardest thing for me is staying on task,
Mm,
um,
the shiny
and, like,
object syndrome?
having that deadline feel because, like I said, for 30 years, I answered to the call of someone else. "We need this yesterday, reprioritize what
The
you've got."
deadlines just happened.
Yeah, make this.
They
And so
happened.
what I have found, I've been paying attention to myself recently, is I have a procrastination issue as well. So if something's too difficult, that goes to the wayside. And what happens instead is the creative end, which is super fun.
Yeah, but
And
it
I could
doesn't
do
bring
it
the
all
money
day
in the door.
long, but
Yeah.
it's not producing as quick of a client base. And so I have to go back to the drawing board, what I spent years telling business developers they need to do. You need to build your CRM, you need to get in the pipeline, you need to be doing follow-up, you need to be having those regular conversations. And so that's where I'm like, I've become my own admin.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I was told yesterday by, you may be meeting her. I think she's gonna come and do a virtual talk through Wise, and she's a neuroscientist, and I
I
met her through
love that stuff. It's so
she's a
interesting.
neuroscientist and she's a leadership coach.
It's so
And
interesting.
I totally nerded out on her yesterday. I was like because I love that shit. And I was like nerding out on her. I was just like, she's like, Renee, oh my God, you're so excited. I'm like, I know, I nerd out on this stuff. So she's like, so she's diagnosing me, right? She's like, you're a strategist. And I'm like, what's a strategist? Cause she was like, I'm a strategist. She's like, and I go, what do you mean by that? And it's the idea person, right? It's like the ideas. I said, yeah, well, guess what happens with strategists? They have a hard time
Right.
executing. The execution's not fun, and so we can strategize all freaking day long until our bank accounts are like 0, and then we're like, "Holy shit, I
I have
better get
so
on
many
this."
people that I've connected with over the last few months that are like, "We need to partner. We need to partner." And I'm like, "Great, let's do that. Great." But it doesn't move past that first conversation.
It
So I'm
gets
like, "Okay,
hard.
back into my stuff and make my stuff
Yeah.
happen."
Yeah. I mean, but now I'm working on a system right now, on a whole, podcast is part of the system, and my newsletter is part of the system, and my playbook is part of the system. It's also my creative part of it, but I am taking all of them to the finish line, and I've gotta get them all done by January 1st. And of course, I told you I'm launching a course, right? Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah. I'm launching a 6-week live course on my search methodology that I've acquired for 25 years. So it's gonna start from the touch of the candidate all the way through the offer process, but I'm building in the 6 human needs. I'm building the psychology of the search.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm building out all of my secrets. And, of course, it has to come out when people are slowing up on hiring. So I'm not sure how hard it's gonna be for me to sell the
Well,
course.
it's the education that you have to have prior to hiring, so it's actually a poignant time.
You're exactly right. And honestly, I'm on a quest. This is my quest. I'm on a quest to eliminate recruiting hatred because people hate recruiters.
I
You know,
just had a conversation with someone
they
about that the
hate.
other day. I love recruiters. Okay, I love you and I will praise you to the moon because nearly every job that I got in my career came from a placement agency.
Yeah.
Because
But they hate
because
us.
you're like the dating app. You're like, "I know you and I know you and
Yeah.
I'm gonna connect you." And even working at RSM, I had a recruiter that I talked to that he was like, "I know you can do the job because I know what your resume says, but it doesn't say what they want it to say." He's like, "So these words have to change in order to suit their need, and
He's
you'll be in
marketing
my
you.
plan."
Yeah. He's not changing the fact, he's marketing you. But I really love to hear that because if you're out there in LinkedIn chatter, people hate recruiters. Clients hate recruiters.
I love him
Candidates hate everyone hates recruiters. And when I got into this, I'm a
because you
CPA, so I
strategize. That's why I love because it's like
I mean,
you
but the
see
thing
the bigger
is,
picture.
I know why they hate recruiters. I know there's agencies that don't
Well, and
that
like the term headhunter is not pretty.
that don't work ethically. They don't put the people first, all that kind of stuff. I get it. And there's no barrier to entry. So you have a lot of idiots that just like, I'm going to be a recruiter and they don't know what they're doing. There's some basis to it. I'm not saying there's not some basis to it. But when I got into this business, I was in shock because I'm a CPA. I was 12 years and then I had my own firm. I had my own tax firm that I sold. So I was like, why are they treating me so disrespect? I mean, people would come to me, you had respect. You're a CPA. And then I'm like, why are these people hanging up on me? Why are these people treating me like this? And I was 35. I was old at that. Like that was old for a recruiter. And I had children. I was like, and you know what? Till this day, it hasn't changed. And I hate it. Like people that know me, it's different. But when I'm like cold calling or trying to get new business, they think I'm the other idiot out there. And I have to be
Mm.
like, okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, because I was always like, I would get excited when someone would find me. I'd be like, all right, here's my ideal situation. I want this salary. I want this type of
Yeah.
work. I want
Yeah.
this size company in this space. And they're like, okay, we're going to go find it. Like,
Well, the dirty little secret is that 80% of all job seekers are passive, and a lot of the A players, depending on their situation in their life, there's A players that sometimes are out of work. That's not what I'm saying. But most people who are employed they're not applying to jobs. So if you're, I have people that only use recruiters to get jobs. So
well,
all
and
those people,
I had a similar conversation recently about networking because
yeah.
networking is ugly to people. And I'm like, okay, but
Why?
you're building the relationships before you need them. It's a good thing. Me as an admin for decades, I networked and people are like, why are you going? I'm like, because I still have a job to do.
Yeah.
And if I can
Yeah.
find resources to help me do it better, why
Yeah.
wouldn't I?
I mean, that's the problem though. So you can't network just when you need something, right? You have
Mhm.
to be networking all the time. You have to be paying it forward all the time. The same scientist that I met yesterday, I knew her from before. She's in this entrepreneurial group with me. I won't even get to the details of that because it doesn't matter. But I hooked her up with somebody and she said, Renee, thank you for this introduction because I'm gonna be doing a project with the person, right? Because they were doing like this AI adoption and they needed a neuroscientist to come in as part of the team. And so they pulled her in. So like I brought her revenue. Like I brought her revenue through the introduction of somebody else. She obviously did it herself. I don't mean that.
Right, right,
But what
right.
I'm saying is that you have to help each other, you know? And so I don't get this. I mean, I don't like negativity anyway. And so when I'm on LinkedIn and I see these people getting all these comments and support and they're being negative, it drives me nuts. I'm like, there's some people out there, I can't believe the crap that they put on those posts. And
Right, and
people
even LinkedIn is much more
support.
positive than any of the other ones.
Yeah, and it is more positive. So I'm just like, "Oh my god, like, why is this getting this griping about recruiters, griping about somebody else's fault, griping about this, griping about that." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is just like," I've got LinkedIn fatigue. That's part of my problem. I'm, like, fatigued by it. You can't get traction on your post. You can't get like, you bust your butt. That's why I don't do videos anymore, is because I was getting the same amount of impressions on a video that I was on a post. Well, why would I spend time producing a video, you know? Now I'm gonna have clips from the podcast, so it'll people will still see me, and that's what I'm gonna use, but, like, I'm just like, "Oh my god." Anyway, that's a whole other story. So back to you. This is my AD but the ADD, ADHD though, your procrastination, of course, we know that's a characteristic of it, right? And so when you work for yourself and you have to make things happen, to your point, when you're in RSM, things just happen. They just happen. But when you're on your own, you have
Well,
to create
and
activity
you
to make
have
it
the
happen.
staff,
It's a
so,
different
like,
ballgame.
even in my office, there were 35 administrative professionals in my
That's a
office
lot.
only. So if
Yeah,
I was overloaded, one phone call, "Hey, can you do this? Can you delegate?" And
yeah,
I am delegation, and so the alternative is hiring out, so I can
yeah,
hire an executive assistant, virtual assistant. I have had some friends of mine say, "Hey, I'm retired. If you need anything, you let me know, and I'll be happy to step in and help you." I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm considering it now.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, the procrastination, and you accidentally said something, but you tripped on something that was important, is you have to work on yourself. When you're working by yourself, you have to work on yourself. And
Yeah.
so I've learned a lot. Like, I was told my whole life, you're such a procrastinator, I don't understand why you're lazy, you're so smart. These things, and when I learned about neurodiversity, I was like, that's why I've struggled so much. And
That's
and
so
what I also
strange.
learned is that, like, procrastination for me is the building process. So, like, recently, I have it right here. Recently, I sat down and wrote a book in a day because it's been in my head for 5 years. I've been building
Oh
it.
my god, good for you.
And I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna put the outline together today. And I just kept writing and writing. And I came up with the entire book in one day because it was already in there.
Yep, yep. Well, that's what the playbook's doing for me is my book is pretty much that playbook. I have the whole structure for the book the book that I want that the second book that I wanna do, you know? But I think what's interesting is what's really weird about me is that I was diagnosed with ADHD, no doubt about it, but I'm very driven. It's weird. I don't really have a terrible procrastination problem,
No.
a
Mine is
little bit
usually
like
when I'm unsure about something is where it comes in.
I get sidetracked on the shiny objects, or I think, "Oh, this is my solution. Oh, this is my solution. Oh, I don't understand marketing. This is my solution." So I'm a knowledge seeker, but then what it does is it creates a lot of confusion for me because of all these things, and especially like on LinkedIn. And even I like, "Oh, this guy should do the branding this way. Oh, this guy should do it this way." And I'm like, "Oh, la, la, la," and I'm
That's
like,
been
and then
my life this
finally,
year. I had so many coaches, I'm like, "I'm not renewing any of the coaches this year," because I'm like, "I've collected so much information, I need to
yeah.
apply it."
Yeah, and that's kinda how I feel. It's like, I can't finish this playbook because every time I'm like, "Oh, I need to add this in. Oh, I need to do this." I'm like, "Okay, Renee, this is a living document. It's gonna be changing. Just get a version out and don't
Yeah,
worry about it," you
right,
know? But it's
right.
like so let me ask you this. I have been an entrepreneur since I mean, I was the girl that had the lemonade stand, and then I went to floral design school, and then I was doing I freelanced in florals when I was going to college. And then I hung my shingle for after I was in corporate for then I hung my shingle for my, tax and consulting business. And then I was back into working for somebody and then since 2001, I've had, what, 3 firms, 4 firms. I lost count. Is entrepreneurism what you think it was gonna be? This is for all my entrepreneurs out there. All of
Yeah.
the times people have said to me in my life, I wish that I was you," meaning not Renee literally. I wish that I owned my own business. I wish that I didn't work for some like, it's grass is
No,
always
it's not
greener,
for
right?
everybody.
It's always greener, and I'm like, "You know
Yeah.
what? I wish that every 2 weeks someone would pay me even
For
if I didn't
real,
perform at
for
a
real.
top level.
Right. So
Right?
I watched entrepreneurial my whole life. My dad owned several businesses while I
Oh,
grew up.
you grew up with it.
Yeah,
So did
but
I.
he also worked at the fire department. My mom was a nurse and like there was always volunteering going on
Well,
in
his
our
shift
house.
work lends itself really well to have a side business.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So he had like
schedule.
a t-shirt business, he had a construction business, he worked on
Mm.
cars. And then when I was in my early 20s, I started a business with his help
Mm.
doing closet organization because I
This can be a big business.
well, this was back in like the late 90s.
Yeah,
I have like the OCD part too. So it's
I
like
don't. I wish
everything
oh, I
has to
wish I
be
did.
everything has to be organized and color coordinated and the same
That's your
shade and
admin.
yeah, yeah. So I had worked at Container Store for a number of years, and so because I knew how to do the closet systems and how organizing worked, I was like, "I can do this on the side and install it for you. I can build it for you in the store,
Right.
work for Container Store, and then I can go put it in your house and make sure that it happens." So I
Yeah.
did that for a while, just materials and timing and I was super young and I didn't have a place to store equipment and all that stuff. But I
Yeah.
still have stuff like with my name on it still, like my toolbox still
Yeah.
says my name on it. It was
I have
so great.
all I have all the business cards I've ever produced
Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah,
every freaking one of them.
yeah, yeah. So I
Flowers by
always had like in
Renee
the back of
on
my
the
mind it
tin.
would be great, but then like my husband approached me many times. Let's buy this business. Let's do that. And I was too freaked out. But then one day when it was my turn to make a decision, I was like, this is what I'm doing. There was no permission. I just started it. He walked into the office one night and he was like, Mentor Me Advisors. It was mail that had showed up at the house. He's like, what is this? I was like, oh, I started a business.
That sounds like my relationship with my husband. He doesn't even stop. He's like, "What do you do?" "Okay, all right. What are you where are you going?" I mean, he doesn't even he just it's not easy to be married to people like us. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Don't worry about it. It's okay. It'll be fine." He's my steady Eddie, he's the guy that worked for 30 years, 35 years and got our health insurance while I was off trying to, like, make more money, build something, trying to fit a life, He always just like, I wanna live your life. You go downtown, boss people around, you go to lunch and you go out for happy hour." That's when I was downtown, I was always out. He's like, "I wanna go out." I'm like, "I don't wanna go to another lunch with a stranger again." Like, it's right, anything that you do all the time loses its luster, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
did go to a lot of nice restaurants. I did meet
I
a lot
know.
of
I
cool
had a
people.
really posh 10 years.
I mean, we had a good time. There's no doubt about it. But I don't miss managing 25 recruiters at all. Like, I don't miss it was
I don't
brutal.
miss the office. I don't miss the high school type environment and the
Yeah.
politics. I don't miss any of that, not even for a
No, I
split
know.
second.
I don't miss my partners managing up. Don't miss my partners. Sorry, guys, don't miss you. And I don't miss hiring and firing someone on Friday. Talk about coaching. Holy crap. That's all I did, man. That's all I did was coach. I was exhausted, but I was so exhausted when I walked out of Marco and Associates. I had a number of people approach me for partnerships and I was like, yeah, no, no. And they're like, really? I'm like, no, no. I said no to everything. Now no one comes anymore. I don't know about that one. Now no one comes. I would still say no, probably. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice, it's creative, but there's that uncertainty. You live with a
Yeah,
constant
it's scary.
uncertainty of
It's, like, scary, like
when's the
and I
next
don't
client coming?
yeah, it kind of has that feeling of working on commission where
Well,
you're like
you are
I
working on
know,
commission
it's
with no base
100%
salary.
commission, but, like, when you had quotas to meet and things like that but again, at least there were deadlines and, I had a goal. My goal is so broad right now that it's
Yeah.
hard for me to stay focused, and so I actually created a checklist for myself yesterday to make sure I'm doing all the things.
Here's something that we used to say every morning in my when I had the recruiting teams. And I still do this today. I sit down and I say to myself, "What's the one thing I can do right now that can bring revenue into my company?" That's what you have to
Mm,
be asking yourself all the time. What should I be doing we used to call it closest to the dollar. So
mm,
what should I be doing closest to the dollar right now? So now that's not always you have to get projects done, so that's not always, but if you work on something closest to the dollar every day, like I have a point now where I'm doing, 5 or 6 cold calls every single day. Like, I've gotta get new business, I've gotta call these people up, and I haven't cold called in a couple of years, so I'm a little bit rusty. And it's not fun. And there's a lot of prep to it. To be effective, you have to do a lot of prep work, like, who you're calling, why you're calling, because otherwise the
yeah,
the calls aren't gonna be effective if you don't
right.
do some
Right.
homework with it. But
Yeah.
that's
It's
one thing
nice
is
that
like,
I'm
what can I
getting
do to what's the
referrals
closest
now.
to the dollar? Huh?
Yeah. It's really nice that I'm starting to get referrals.
Yeah, that's nice. Interesting, in my business, I get referrals, but I get candidate referrals, but I don't get a ton of client referrals. It's very frustrating.
Client
And I
referrals,
think
you mean from the perspective of the company hiring
yeah,
you?
yeah. Who's hiring? Yeah. And I think there's just part of the problem, I think, is there's just a lot of people involved in that decision in the company, right? There's people that know other recruiters, there's
Well, and
pressure
there's
from
so
an
many companies that
HR.
have internal hiring teams now.
Yeah, they do. But again, in accounting and finance, they usually fail. You have to go find those people. You have to get them to talk to you. You just can't put an ad out there. If they have a recruiting team that actually recruits, they may stand a chance. But if they have a recruiting team, if their process is just putting an ad out, they're really not
Yeah.
going to find the best accounting and finance people. You may find some, you may get lucky. I don't know. Not having the deadlines when you work for yourself. You have the creativeness, but they're also right. You don't have that certainty. You don't have that paycheck coming. I mean, you can have a bad week at work and someone's still gonna pay you. You can have a bad month at work.
I remember one day when I first started working at RSM, I was like, "I am bored. Like, why is nobody giving me any work?" And so I had gone
Mm,
to the partners and I was like, "Look, I've been here for however long I had been there at the time." I was like, "I'm just sitting at my desk, like working on homework because I had gone back to school." And I'm like, "I feel bad working on homework while I sit here and you pay me." And the partner said to me, "Do you get a paycheck every 2 weeks?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Then shut up." And I was like,
you're like, "As a matter of fact, now I'm getting paid to do my homework." That's fantastic. All right, so you just sat down and wrote an outline to a book or maybe a big structure to a book, but you have a published book. So tell us about the book
"Yeah."
and
So
what's
I
happening
have
with that.
It's on Amazon right now. It's through Engaging Speakers, which is a group that I joined a year ago to learn how to be more concise in my introductions and how to be more confident in the presentations that I give. And I just had a call with them today and they were great. And they do a couple books a year and they're all collaborative books with multiple authors. Each
Yeah.
person that joins gets a chapter. So the one that I joined is called Voices of Influence. And so it's their fourth volume. They're doing their 5th one right now, which is, Voices of Change, but mine was Voices of Influence, and it's doing well. It hit number 1 the day of that we released. They have a really great team that walks you through it helps you with editing. They walk you through the whole scheduling process. They provided us with structure of when it goes to print and, like, the edit like, all of, like, our last editing phase
Mhm.
and they had multiple meetings throughout the season to help
Mhm.
people, talk through challenges that they had. Like, I remember one person, he had gone all the way to, like, the last week before they were getting ready, and he hadn't written yet, and I was like, "Holy cow." And so I called him up and I was like, "If there's anything that I can do to help you, please let me help you." And so he had an idea, but he just didn't know how to make it flow, and so we had a Zoom meeting together, and we worked through, like, some ideas and structure of his content,
That was
and
nice
then
of
when he
you.
finished it, he sent it to me and I edited it for him. And so it turned out really good. And it was really nice to have those different people. And so the one that I was in had 15 authors and they can have up to 30 in each
Okay.
edition that they do.
Got it.
Yeah, so it was great. I loved it.
And so you contacted me recently, have you have a speech that you've written, that you're ready to roll, that you've been practicing. What is it about? And what are you
So
gonna
it
talk
is
about? Because when we talk to you December, whenever our meeting is, December 4th, we're gonna talk to you about when you're gonna do it and all that stuff. So tell me about
okay.
it. What's going on with it?
Yeah, so it's called From Invisible to Invaluable, and it is about the reframe of your mindset as an admin. So like you said, my audience that I speak to was, the person that I was for 20, 30 years in my career. And so it was, when you're overlooked, how do you become a strategist instead of overhead? And how do you quantify your impact? So like I was talking about doing networking events and building your network. When you're building your network, you're building the company's network. And so just how to be visible and going from invisible to invaluable is basically being seen and knowing your worth and being able to advocate for yourself.
And does that kinda go back to that training you had at RSM back in the day?
Yeah, it really it does. That was a really big transition for me was getting hearing and also hearing from the partners that had talked about where they started and what their struggle was, and the majority of the people were women, and so it was the struggle of not only
Right.
being a woman, but then being in operations as a woman, which is a general, you know, understanding of who those employees are. Most of them are women, most of them are quiet, reserved.
Yeah.
So it was like learning how to speak up for yourself and how it's not bragging, how it's being strategic and talking about
Right.
the value that you bring to the organization.
Right. Right. I like that. That's good. Now, did engaging speakers help you coach you through the presentation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And did you team up with somebody? Did you have to pay extra for that?
I did. So that was one of the other coaches that I met with individually was Jen Loving, who's the president of Engaging Speakers. She has a coaching program that is focused on speaking your way to a larger client base.
Okay. And it was worth it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do they show you how to get gigs then? Is there like a process to be able to get to book to
There
get this?
are like, they have a pretty big audience in general, but she did work with me in identifying sources. Like, for me, what was really eye-opening, I didn't even know about this until I became a coach, was that there's actually organizations for administrative professionals, like International Association for Administrative Professionals. I was like, "Why is this not
Really?
brought to us? Why are we
Yeah.
not invited to participate in these things?"
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
So,
I've gotta
I'm
start
reaching out to
getting out there.
organizations like that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I've gotta again, that's like a full-time job, right? Just to try to get speaking engagements. It's, like, crazy. Now, was the book that you started, that you sat down and wrote, is it part of this part of it?
Yeah,
Part of the
because
speech?
it's,
Okay.
the stories that I incorporate in the presentation are also in that book.
Okay.
And what's
Yeah.
nice is it's not just a reading book, it's a workbook. So I share the
Okay.
stories and then I share some key takeaways, and then I give a
Okay.
place for people to think about how it applies to them
Okay. Okay.
or what
I'll
they
have to
could take out of it.
brainstorm with you because I've got the whole playbook pretty much done, a little bit tweaks, but that's gonna be the format of the book, and then it could be the format of the speech, right? The whole thing could just the course, the playbook, the course, the speech, the book, like, the whole thing would
Yeah.
happen,
Like,
and
I'm
I could
really big on engaging an audience, like, having you participate
yeah.
live because it activates the emotion.
Yeah, I mean, I did some public speaking back in the day. I did more than a few gigs, and I was pretty decent at it. I just have to, like yeah, I just again, it's like a full-time job, right? Like, it's just there's a lot to it, and
Right. When I feel like I'm not getting where I wanted to be, and I tell somebody about all the things that I'm doing, I'm like, "Oh my god, I've
yeah,
done
no
so
wonder I
many
can't get up.
things."
No wonder I
Yeah.
can't get things done, yeah. Or maybe
Yeah.
I need to pick one of them and just go. But
Right.
what I find, and you're a lot younger than me, is that I was telling my husband, I feel like every 6 months is like 6 years at this time of my life. I just turned 60 in June. And so people are like, "Oh, it takes years to build." You're like, I don't have years. Like I gotta get there's things I wanna do, and I'm like, I feel like father time is ticking at me, and so I'm, like, on this quest of, like, I'm, like, trying to escalate some of these projects, so I wanna get, like, all of these things in place, and then, and when work the system. I mean, I'm still working the system, but I can't there's just things I wanna get done, and I'm like, business is a bit slow right now, so I'm like, "You need to take this time to get this stuff done by the end of the year, and then you're gonna be queued up for 2026, and you're gonna freaking rock it out, so you're gonna be
Right.
fine." But,
Right.
it's interesting. The life of
Yeah.
an entrepreneur is very interesting. That could be a whole
Yeah.
different podcast, but
'Cause, like, that book, the reason I even did it is because I was going to write articles for Forbes over the next 12 months to identify my topics for the chapters in the book. And so I
mm,
was, like, writing out an agenda of, like, what I wanted the year to look like, and I was like, "Alright, I've gotten that far, I might as well just write it."
and sometimes you're just in that flow,
Mhm.
and so when you feel that flow with writing, you just need to do it. I use Notion to build a playbook. Do you know what Notion is? Yeah,
That's what
and it
we
was
ran Storybolt on.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, I was like, "Okay, can you just replicate this structure? Done. Okay, can you move this around? Great. Okay, can you do this?" Yeah, I don't really need their help to build the content. I was like, "Okay, you're totally off on this." But it was nice to just from like all the time saved just to move things around. It
Yeah.
was amazing, just to kind of have that, just the structure and the movement and everything was pretty cool. But
Yeah,
I
it
have to
took me
ask
a
you, I don't know
while to get comfortable, but I loved it once I got in
I
there.
don't know how I have to figure out how to get a whole PDF out of it. They're like, I have to get a you have to do them separate and then you have to you have to have like a PDF combiner or something?
I know how to combine PDFs if you want help with that.
All right, I might have to ask you because you can't just download the whole thing as all the sub pages as a PDF. They all come down as a zip file with separate. This won't
Okay.
be on our thing. They all come down separate, and then I have to I'm like, "Oh my god." So, I don't know how I might have to ask you. Anyway, anything else you wanna talk about, or you ready to wrap?
I'm good. Yeah.
So, is there any fun kinda like I think I wrote this too. Is there any kind of a kinda juicy or kinda crazy story in your career that you wanted to share that you
Yeah,
think
I
is
mean, there's
interesting?
so many things that I would love to share, but I wanna stay away from, like, gossip and, like, getting back into that mental state, but the funniest
Yeah,
experience I think the funniest thing that I've encountered as a coach so far is someone that I met when we were 21, we worked together, and we stayed in touch. And over the years when she would struggle, she would call me, "I need to write a resume, I need to interview," whatever. Well, most recently, she was at this job for nearly 20 years. It wasn't a great experience, but she's a longevity employee. So she feels like the longer that she's gonna be there, the better off she's gonna be. And
that's her
for
mentality?
yeah, so for many years, I was like, "I don't know. I would move on. I don't know. I wouldn't stick it out." And she was like,
Yeah.
"No, no, no, I'm gonna stick it out. 20 years is not that far away. It'll get better." And so for her 20th anniversary at the company, they provided her with a gift card to Home Depot, and it was for $300. I was like, "That is so weak.
What
I don't
happened to
even
the gold watch?
I don't even know, like, yeah, not even the gold watch, but the best part was she had just bought a condo and she was remodeling, and she was like, "I'm gonna buy a toilet with it, and I will think of them every time I use the restroom." And shortly
Thank you.
thereafter, she resigned,
Thank
but
you
she
for,
still has the toilet, so maybe
oh
it's
my
better than a
god,
gold
dude,
watch.
that is so funny. Oh, thank you for the $300. I'm gonna buy a place to take a shit, and I'm gonna be thinking about you when I'm on the toilet. Oh my god, that is hilarious. Oh my god. Well, I mean, what are they thinking?
I don't know. I was
What
like,
are
"What?"
they thinking?
Like,
I mean,
not a celebration, not a certification,
oh
not
my
a
god.
promotion,
People are
nothing.
nuts. They're
$100
nuts.
gift card to Home Depot.
Oh my god, that is so crazy. Well, I know you have to get to your friends, and I've kept you for almost an hour. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me. You're awesome. And also, we're super excited you to join the board of our WISE group.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
There's some exciting things happening there, as if we don't have enough to do, but
I know,
what the
right?
heck? I know. So we'll do that too. But we actually,
Something shiny.
I know. Oh my god. Now I have to make it formal. I'm like, I have to they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna have" because I was at the last event was at the beautiful apartment
I know, I
building.
was so disappointed I
I
missed
couldn't
it.
believe it. I was like, "Where's Heather?" Anyway, they had closed the pool down, but there was no water in it and there was no guardrails. And I was like, "I have no insurance." Like, I was just like, "We're just gonna meet and hang out." I'm like, well, they would've went after the building anyway, probably. But they coulda come after me if someone would've fallen in that and hurt. And these girls were I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Can you guys please step away from this?"
Go
Because
away
if you
from the
fell
edge.
on the yeah, you could hurt. I mean, right? Like, you could hurt yourself. They're not kids, they're women, right? They're young. A lot of them are like, 20-year-olds. Like, they may not bounce back up that easily. So it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to formalize this, do a 501(c)(3) or whatever you call a damn thing, get a nonprofit, and I'm gonna have to get insurance. I have to do another tax return. And I just didn't want to do all that. And that's why I just kind of wanted to see how things went before I did that. But now we're starting to get like some traction. People are starting to know us.
I was so impressed with the number of attendees you had. That was so great.
Which one did you go to?
Didn't you
The one in
say that
Rosemont?
you had 20 people?
Oh, I mean, that was kind of like our Rosemont, we had 30. We had at least 20, 25 come. Like, yeah, usually our lowest one was 15, which was a bummer because it was with Chris Johnson, and she's like an amazing
Yeah.
coach. You need to see her. And
I did.
she's
I
in
actually I met with her even after that.
you did. Okay. You went to
I
it?
went to that one.
Yeah, and do you remember the menopause doctor? She's gonna do one in February.
Yeah, she was good too.
Yeah, she's gonna do one too. So anyway, we got all kinds of stuff happening. So that'll be fun. So anyway, thank you on behalf of the hiring room, which is me. Thank you so much for coming to my little podcast. I
I
really
love it.
appreciate it. Good luck to you in all your coaching business and
All right. Thank
thanks.
you. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for joining me in the hiring room. If you like the podcast, please subscribe below and share this episode with someone you think that would benefit from it. We're always looking for good people to interview. So if you have a referral, comment below, or you can email me at renee@mseedinc.com. Thanks. Till next time.